Hey, what's up guys? We are back on Pokemon Showdown today, and today I'm bringing you my third episode for the Team Builder series I have, and we're going to talk about choiced Pokemon today. So Choice Band, Choice Specs, and Choice Scarf. I'm going to show you the most typical Pokemon that are in the OU tier that use each one of them, and I'm going to tell you a counter for each one of them. So we're going to hop right into the Choice Banded Pokemon. And first is Azumarill. And so Azumarill is a very interesting Pokemon because it has a massive attack stat. So with the huge power ability and the Choice Band, there's not a lot of things that can switch into it, and it also gets access to priority, so you have to watch out for that. So a good way to deal with Azumarill is trying to pivot into other things. Like the thing is, it's choice, so you need to get say you have a I don't know, a Garchomp out or something like that. So he'll more than likely click Play Rough. So maybe you can switch out into a Steel type on that. Maybe like a Magnezone or something. It's still gonna take a decent amount because it's still a Choice Banded Azumarill. But that's the best way to deal with it. Or don't let it get any free switching. So say its best answer to you is the Azumarill. Make sure you get some damage off on it because they could also be the Belly Drum set, so you have to watch out for that. So that is the Choice Banded Azumarill set. It's pretty threatening. The 92 speed EVs allows it to outspeed base 60 Pokemon such as Tyranitar. So Tyranitar is definitely not a counter to this thing at all. So you gotta watch out for Azumarills. So next we have the Choice Banded Dragonite, and it's an adamant Dragonite because it gets access to extreme speed. And a Choice Banded Dragonite is actually pretty threatening, honestly. I wouldn't say it's more threatening than the Dragon Dance set, but sometimes this thing can catch you off guards. A Choice Banded Adamant Extreme Speed is still doing a lot of damage. It brings its attack stat up to 403. So along with the multi-scale ability and its access to a plethora of moves, like this thing gets a lot of coverage. So the typical ones are like Fire Punch and Earthquake. I just chose those as the just basic filler, and that's what you will see most commonly on a Banded Dragonite. And then the access to 120 base power Outrage is crazy. So they can just keep spamming Outrage, and it's going to do a lot of damage. So the best way to deal with this thing is try to get up rocks to break its multi-scale, and then honestly the only thing you can do really is try to hit it hard with an Ice type move or a Dragon type move, maybe even Fairy type move. But your best bet is to, like I said, not let this thing get any free switch-ins, and definitely get up your Stealth Rock to break that multi-scale, because that multi-scale can really do some damage on your team. So that is the Dragonite set, and now we are moving on to the Scizor. And Banded Scizor is actually becoming a lot more common lately in OU. I've seen a lot of people bluff the Mega, and it ends up being a Choice Banded Scizor instead. And a Choice Banded Adamant Scizor hits very hard as well, because it gets access to Technician and Bullet Punch to give it that priority. So it almost reaches 400 attack while having a very good HP stat. And its priority is hard to deal with. So your best bet dealing with this thing is a bulky water type such as Rotom Wash, and trying to lock it into Bullet Punch, because if it hits you with the superpower or a knockoff, it's not going to be taking that very well. So you want to definitely try to get this thing locked into Bullet Punch and go out into a bulky water, maybe like Suicune, Manaphy, things along that line, and eat those Bullet Punches up relatively well. And try to hit it back with a Scald or something and burn it. So your best bet is trying to burn this Scizor, get off a Will-O-Wisp on it. That's your probably best way of dealing with it. It's kind of hard to deal with though, because it does get U-turn as well. So you just have to watch out for it. Some people like to run speed on their Banded Scizors, but this was the one on Smogon, so I just chose this one. Other than that, that's about it. And now the Talonflame is next, and the Talonflame is actually really hard to deal with as well, because the Gale Wings ability gives it priority with its Brave Bird attacks, and that's 120 base power, so it's hard to deal with. So and then it gets another 120 base attack stat with the Flare Blitz as well, and it has access to pivot out with U-turn, and Steel Wing hits fairies such as Mega Diancie, so you gotta watch out for that thing. Your best way to counter this thing is honestly Rotom Wash again, because Rotom Wash walls this thing to death. Other bulky types, water types, do well against it as well. That's about it, honestly. The Talonflame. I guess what is it? Tank Chop deals with this thing very well too. So you can get off a Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin, Garchomp, and this thing will be wearing down a lot. So that is the Talonflame, and now we are on to the Thrakion. And Thrakion, you don't see it a lot, but this thing can catch people off guard. It is very, very hard to deal with. It has 108 speed, so it is outspeeding the 100 stat Pokemon and a little bit above that. So, and along with its 129 base attack stats. So add a Choice Band to that, and it's gonna be doing some damage. So obviously Close Combat and Stone Edge are its dual stabs, and Iron Head is for those fairy types. And then even Quick Attack just to get off a little bit of damage. It gives it some priority, which is nice. Your best way of dealing with Thrakion is honestly, I think, what's your best bet in Thrakion? You could try to lock it into the Choice Band, like say you have a flying type out, he's more than likely going to go for the Stone Edge and trying to switch in a Steel type. So basically pivoting to try to get rid of this Thrakion's threat, even though sometimes you can't really do that. Maybe a Steel type, yeah, like I said, still does relatively well. You just gotta watch out for the Close Combat on it. So if he wants to spam Close Combat, then your best bet is going out into maybe a Fairy type and trying to hit this thing back really hard with a Moonblast or something of the sort. So that's the best way of dealing with Thrakion, honestly. You could throw out a Pokemon that's faster than it and hit it, maybe like a Scizor Bullet Punch too. Scizor walls this thing relatively well as long as you have some sort of bulk in you, because I'm pretty sure a Bullet Punch is a 2-hit KO on almost every single Scizor set. So that's another way. Lastly, for the Choice Banded users, we have Victini, and Victini hits incredibly hard with a 180 base power V-Create. So honestly, it can only use it once or twice though before you can outspeed it and kill it. But you can't just let this thing keep V-creating on you, because otherwise it's just going to destroy your entire team. You can't bring out water types on this thing because it does have Bolt Strike, which is a 130 base power attack, so you gotta watch out for that. And then be wary of the U-turn as well, because this thing can pivot out really easily. And then also I put Trick on this because a lot of people like Trick and trying to throw maybe a Choice Band on one of your Pokemon that doesn't want a Choice Band. So yeah, watch out for that. And your best way of dealing with Victini is honestly Tyranitar does well as long as you lock it into V-Create or Bolt Strike. The U-turn he's definitely not taking the U-turn very well. Also Lando T does well against this thing as long as you're bulky and you can take a V-Create. So that's probably your best way of dealing with it. Heatran also does pretty well to this thing. Try to get a Flash Fire boost on the V-Create. Bolt Strike won't do too much, but it'll still do a lot, and U-turn obviously won't do anything. So and then like I said, watch out for the Trick though. He could trick your Heatran into a Choice Band, and you definitely don't want that. So those are the Choice Banded Pokemon. Those are the most common Choice Banded Pokemon in my opinion. And now we'll go on to the Choice Scarf Pokemon. I mean, no, we'll go Choice Spec, and then we'll go Choice Scarf. So here are the Choice Scarf Pokemon. First, we have the Suspect Test user, Hoopon Bound. This thing is incredibly strong with the 170 base attack stat, so it brings it up to 439. And honestly, if you want to go modest, what does modest bring it up to? Modest brings it up to 482. So the most common set is the Jolly set, and I do think the Timid set, my bad. The Timid set, and I think that is honestly the best set because it just lets it outspeed things more. So and then you already have a Choice Specs to hit things incredibly hard. So you get an access to, like I said, you just get so many moves with this thing. Dark Pulse, Psyshock are your stab moves, and Psyshock allows you to hit things on the physical side, which is very good. And then also things like Focus Blast and Thunderbolt. So there's not a lot of counters to this thing at all. Your best bet is going out into maybe a Scarf U-turner or a U-turner that's fast, and try to kill this thing, or try to get some priority on it, like maybe a Sword Danced Up Breloom or a Banded Scizor would take this thing out relatively easily. Just try to hit it on its defensive side because its special bulk is pretty good. Yeah, it's 130 and it has base 80 HP. So you're definitely going to want to try to hit it on the physical side. So that is the Hoopa. And now we are on to the Specs Keldeo. And Specs Keldeo is a very hard Pokemon to deal with, honestly. It's one of the best wall breakers in the OU metagame. So you really have to watch out for it. Like I said, this thing just tears through walls. Your best bet is trying to get it stuck into a special attack. You could go out into like a Chansey or a special wall. You could go out into Latios, they wall it very well. Just something like that. Even Celebi, honestly, Celebi can eat anything this thing wants to throw at you. So that is your best bet, unless it's HP Bug. You gotta watch out. Sometimes they carry HP Bug. So definitely Hoopa, Celebi, things of that sort are not switch-ins if they carry Specs HP Bug. So that's your best bet for Keldeo. And now we have Magnezone. And Magnezone is hard to deal with because it has Magnet Pull, and Steel types are definitely not a counter to this thing anymore, and you have to watch out for your Steel types like your Scizors or Ferrothorns, and because they can just HP fire you away. So that is why Magnezone is a threat. I'm pretty sure the Speed EVs are either for Bitsharp or what else? Bitsharp, Tyranitar, things of that sort, so you're outspeeding them. The Modest is just so you can hit as hard as possible, and a Volt Switch and Flash Cannon are very good for stab moves along with Thunderbolt. And so your best counter to Magnezone is a Earthquaker, obviously. He's 4 times weak to ground type moves, so try to get something like a Lando T in on it because it will outspeed. Unless I think you're minus speed, you have to be minus speed to not outspeed this thing. So yeah, maybe like a Lando T, Excadrill, things of that sort, because this thing's definitely not going to outspeed Excadrill. Some of them do carry the Scarf, but Choice Specs is more common in my opinion. So that is the Magnezone, and now we are going into the Raikou. And Raikou is also very hard to deal with because of its high speed stat along with its high special attack stat. So you throw on a Choice Specs with this thing, and you have to pretty much guess what it's going to do. Ground types are relatively good switch-ins because they usually just spam Volt Switch. Honestly, you can take HP Ices. I'm pretty sure even Tank Chomp takes 1 HP Ice, or I think Lando T might take 1 HP Ice. But try to watch out for that. If you have a Garchomp out, they're probably just going to click HP Ice, so you can switch out, and now they're locked into HP Ice. So the Shadow Ball is also just for coverage to hit bulkier Psychic types. Some people run Signal Beam to hit Dark types as well, but I prefer Shadow Ball. It's better in my opinion, and I actually really like this Raikou set. So like I said, your best bet is trying to go into a ground type or maybe a bulky special wall, and let them Volt Switch out, and then try to get up hazards because this thing will get worn down very fast by hazards. So that's your best bet. And next is the Sylveon, and this is one of my favorite Pokemon in my opinion for using Choice Specs. It is on your Azumarill team. I've used it in OU Lives. It's very good. Not a lot of things can handle the pixelated boosted Hyper Voice, which I think goes into the 117 base power after the pixelate boost. And then slapping on a Choice Specs after that just makes this thing incredibly threatening. Hyper Voice goes through substitutes, it rips through a lot of walls. Psyshock hits things like Mega Venusaur and like poison types that otherwise can eat a Hyper Voice. And then HP Fire is just for things like Scizor, Ferrothorn, things along that line. Some people run HP Ground to catch Heatran, but HP Fire is more popular. And then Baton Pass is just to try to predict a switch, and then you can switch on out of there. So that is the Sylveon set, and the best way to deal with this Sylveon is get a faster Steel type out on it. Jirachi's a pretty good counter. Let's see what else. Excadrill deals with this thing very well. Just things along that line. So I think, yeah, even like Assault Vested Metagross or Mega Metagross deals with this very well. So just get a Steel type on it. But other than that, the Sylveon's going to be destroying your team, so you got to really watch out for it. And your best way of dealing with it is, like I said, these Steel types. So those are the Choice Specs users, the most common ones. And now we'll go on to the Choice Scarf users. And there's actually a lot of Choice Scarf users. I just put it down to these 6 as the most common ones. So here we have the Mold Breaker Choice Scarf Excadrill with Rapid Spin. And obviously the Earthquake and Iron Head are just good dual stab, and then the Rock Slide allows you to hit flying types. So this is a very common Excadrill set. Some people like to run Adamant. I think Jolly's better though, just to let you outspeed things like, I think, Mega Mane and things of that sort. So that is the Excadrill set, and the best way to counter it is locking it in. Like, say he has hazards, or you have hazards up on his side, he rapid spins, then obviously this thing's not going to be a threat whatsoever. Another good counter is Lando T. Lando T kind of walls this thing to death, especially if you're like Rocky Helmet or something like that, and you get an Intimidate off on it. So Lando T is a very good counter to the Excadrill. Other good counters like Manaphy is a pretty decent one, as long as you only take one hit from an Earthquake or you lock him into an Iron Head. So things along that line are pretty good counters for the Excadrill. Next we have the Garchomp, and Scarf Garchomp is very underrated because not a lot of people use it. Most people run Tank Chomp or Life Orb or even Focus Sash, but Choice Scarf is pretty underrated in my opinion because they won't look for the Choice Scarf. They'll see, oh, I'm definitely going to outspeed this Garchomp, but no, you hit them really hard with an Outrage or an Earthquake, and they don't know what to do after that. So Choice Scarf Garchomp is pretty hard to deal with, honestly, and you could try to get into a Fairy type on the predicted Dragon type move, but they can just switch out on after that. And then the Earthquake and Stone Edge is just to allow it to hit Fire types, Steel types that would try to wall its Dragon type moves, and then its Stone Edges allows it to hit Flying types as well. So really have to look out for Garchomp. Lando T is a pretty good counter after you get an Intimidate off, and if you're bulky. Let's see what else. Like I said, the Fairy types are pretty decent. You just have to make sure it is locked into something, and you could burn it. Burning this thing is very good too. You could go into Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash kind of walls this thing. So those are your options. And next we have Jirachi, and this Jirachi is so hard to deal with because of its Ring Grace ability, and then a 60% chance to flinch on its dual stab moves with Iron Head and Heart Stamp. So Lando T is a very good counter. U-turn allows it to pivot out as well, and then Healing Wish is just used for giving your Pokemon another life. So it's a very good Jirachi set, and it's the most common Jirachi set out there. So you gotta definitely use Landorus T as a decent counter. If you have it locked into Heart Stamp, you can obviously go into a Dark type. Definitely watch out your fairies on this thing. It's pretty threatening to your fairies. So that is the Jirachi set, and now we'll go into the Keldeo set. And the Keldeo is really good because it was a Choice Specs user as well. So Choice Scarf and Choice Specs are the most common abilities. You could see a sub Calm Mind, but these are the two best ones. And then it's typical moves as usual. Like I said, I like the Choice Specs user because I don't think it really needs any more speed. But Choice Scarf is just there to help it outspeed the fastest Mons in OU. So yeah, that is pretty much the Keldeo set. I already said the counters for it. And then we have Choice Scarf Lando. And Choice Scarf Lando, I think Lando T is the best Pokemon in OU, honestly. But the best way to deal with it, or this thing really gets rid of a lot of threats like ground types, because not ground types, steel types. With its Earthquake, and then Stone Edge gets rid of flying types very well. It can knock off things that have a very good item on them, and then it could also U-turn on out for pivoting. So it's very good with the Intimidate ability, and then its massive attack stat of 145. So it makes it very hard to deal with, it makes it a very good Pokemon as well. So the best way to counter your an opponent's Choice Scarf Lando T is you could go out into a Levitator such as Rotom or Latios and just make him locked into Earthquake. If he wants to use Stone Edge, go into a Steel type. Say he wants to just spam Knockoff, you can go out into a Fairy type and wall this thing very well and hit it hard with, like, say, a Moonblast or something. But honestly, try to get up hazards and wear it down because it does not have any recovery. You could try to get off an Ice Beam or Scald on it as well. Try to burn it. If you burn it, it's pretty much useless. So that's the best way to counter Lando T. And lastly, we have the Choice Scarf Tyranitar with Pursuit. So this is definitely just a Pursuit Trapper Tyranitar. It's the most common Tyranitar actually in OU right now. So it obviously has Stone Edge and Pursuit and Crunch for its stab, and then Superpower to hit things like Ferrothorn or any Steel type that relatively walls Tyranitar very well. So the best way to counter this thing is definitely don't let it Pursuit Trap your Latios or Latiases and like other Psychic types that otherwise would get destroyed by Pursuit, like Jirachi as well. So the best way to deal with Tyranitar is throw in maybe an Excadrill. Don't let it get hit by a Superpower. Garchomp is a very good counter to this thing. Any like Keldeo, any fighting type can just basically destroy this thing. So that is probably the best way to deal with Tyranitar, and those are your Choice Banded, Choice Specs, and Choice Scarf users. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that will be the video for the episode 3 of our Team Builder series, and I will see you guys next time.